Chapter 10. As I moved along the path, I kept an eye out for any living creatures or anything hazardous that might leap in our way, like a Shadrith or Lord Sycorath or something, if there even were such things. Falzar continued following as well, but for the first time he was eerily quiet. Must have finally given up on trying to convince me to stop and go back. After the path curved a couple times, it opened into a large, open area full of enormous structures. I stopped at the edge and I just stared at them. My, oh my. Many of the gigantic things stretched up into the air as high as Mother's and my cabin, if not higher, and they sported all different types of bright colors, as well as what appeared to be long, skinny objects and steps with railings leading up to platforms. A couple of the structures had long, narrow, curvy things that sloped from high up all the way down to the sandy ground. What in the world of Alondra were these things? But that wasn't all. There were children here, too. I counted a total of 4 of them, all shimmying along the long, skinny objects or climbing the steps or running along the platforms, smiling and shouting gleefully, like they were having fun. 2 looked to be about my age, and the other 2 a couple or so years younger. What were they doing here? And why? But perhaps most importantly, maybe these were the people I was looking for. Maybe if I spoke to them, they would like me and want to be my friend, and vice versa. But as soon as that thought occurred to me, I couldn't help but wonder if this was really some kind of dark magic at work, even if it looked like the children were having fun. Were these hulking structures really some kind of horrific, bewitched contraptions created by Lord Sycorath to entrap little children and keep them exhaustedly climbing and running around against their will forever? They had to be, right? All of Alondra was under Lord Sycorath's dark evil reign, after all, right? As these thoughts churned viciously through my mind, one of the younger children slid down one of the long, narrow, curvy things. "Whee!" she cried as she went. Well, she certainly seemed to be having fun, and a lot of it, too. And I had to admit it did look pretty fun. But before I could think much about it, I noticed something else. Only a few yards away, off to the side of the massive structures, sat a grown man and woman on some kind of extra-long chair, filling most of it up. And they were both looking at me, their eyes narrowed, foreheads crinkled. "Hello there, young lady," said the man. His face was a bit wrinkly, but he was thick and strong-looking, with a large black beard and a mustache peppered with silver. He didn't wear a cloak like Mother and me, but some kind of clothing I'd never seen before that was separated. One piece for his top half, and one for his bottom half, it looked like. "Where are your parents, honey?" His deep voice ran shivers down my spine. I mean, I knew men's voices were deep, but not that deep. Even Lord Sycorath's in my dreams was never that low. I flicked my gaze to the woman, who looked about his age too, with long, stringy gray hair. "Young lady?" the man asked. Well, I said. "Did you lose them, sweetie?" the woman asked. I instinctively took a step backwards. "Honey, don't be afraid," she said. "Yes," the man said. "We just want to make sure everything is okay. Did you lose your mother or father in the park? If you like, you can wait here with us until they find you." Us. There was something about that word that made the shivers bolt up and down my spine. And what did he mean by park? What was a park exactly? Some kind of evil, twisted Lord Sycorath creation? I continued to slowly step backwards. "Honey?" the woman said. The man climbed to his feet. "Richard!" the woman cried. "You'll scare her!" I shuffled another couple steps backwards as I pointed a quivering finger at them, trying to well up as much magic as I could from deep down inside me. "Freeze! Both of you! Stay right where you are!" Neither moved a muscle. Yes, it was working. "Honey," the woman said, "we just want to help you, that's all. You can trust us, sweetie, really." "Yes, you can trust us, honey." Ha, right. In fact, I bet they were both really Shadriths. Shadriths in disguise as a pair of nice-looking wizards or humans. Mother said they had the ability to shapeshift, after all. Gah, I was a complete and utter fool to come out here. I hardly knew anything about the outside world. How could I expect to meet someone new, someone I could trust and be friends with, when I was merely a clueless 11-year-old girl? Continuing to well up as much magic as I possibly could, I scrunched my eyes shut, pointed my finger at them again, and shouted, "Begone! Begone, you horrible, evil, shape-shifting monsters!" I whipped my eyes open again, but they were still there, their own gazes still plastered to me, the man's mouth hanging open a bit, the woman touching her slightly parted lips with slender fingers. "Honey," she said, "are you all right? I promise everything is going to be completely fine. You can wait for your parents with us right here if you'd like. It's really no trouble at all." No, it didn't work. The spell didn't work.
"Sweetheart," the man said, "please just stay with us for a couple of minutes. I'm sure your parents will turn up in no time."
He took another step forward, but I whirled around and raced back along the path. I didn't even bother to shoot a glance behind me to see if the terrible Shadriths were following, perhaps even having morphed back into their incredibly tall, gangly black forms. The ferocious flapping wings above me told me Falzar was flying along with me too, undoubtedly as horrified as I was. After rounding a couple of the path's curves, I veered off into the forest near the dark blue sack, burst into the cabin realm, climbed onto the roof via the pile of logs, and shimmied down the chimney as fast as I could. After I landed in the fireplace, I raced to one of the windows by the door and peered out. Oh, thank the great and illustrious history of Alandra! The yard was completely empty. Not a single sign of the Shadriths or any of Lord Sikarath's other evil minions. Then again, it was impossible for them to ever enter the cabin realm in the first place, at least according to Mother. Still, the Shadriths clearly weren't able to catch me. They weren't even close to fast enough, the stupid, pitiful beings. I was way more magical than them. Ha! I threw back my head and let out a big, long laugh that came from the very pit of my belly. It just kept going and going, and it felt so great.
"What's so funny?"
Falzar asked when I finally stopped. He was perched on the table, stabbing me with the evilest eye I'd ever seen.
"Your utter foolishness nearly got us killed, Mara. I mean, I've never been so fantastically terrified in all my natural-born life."
I know, I'm sorry, Falzar. I never should have gone out there. There's a good chance those were Shadriths in disguise as nice wizards or humans. I'm glad we were able to get back here safe and sound."
"Me as well, Mara. I prayed to the great creator of Alandra that such would happen, and it did. But we must never leave the cabin realm, or the cabin for that matter, ever again. Just like Mother said, is that perfectly clear?"
Yes, definitely."
"Good. Now let's get everything back in order before Mother returns."
"Right, of course." I swept my gaze over the cauldron and logs still lying to the side of the fireplace, as well as the trail of mud my sneakers had tracked across the wooden floor. Oh, Gulak crud! I'd rushed back to the cabin so quickly, I hadn't been careful to step in highly weeded areas so I didn't pick up any mud or leave any footprints. But no sooner did that thought enter my head than the lock clicked in the front door. No. Then the doorknob turned. No, it couldn't be. I whirled back around just in time for the door to swing open, slamming against the wall. Mother stood fully upright in the doorway, wearing her black cloak and holding her Gulak skin bag as usual, sheer murder plastered across her deep scarlet face as she beheld both Falzar and me.